Now, a good time to be looking for a job with everything that's going on in the world is a question that many social workers have currently. And today I wanted to talk about why it is, regardless of what your situation is, regardless of if your position is likely going to be eliminated or cut back, or if you are in a stable employment situation, now is the time to be looking for a job. So, in the workforce development, career development in industry, there is a term that is utilized when talking about the ups and downs of the job market. The term is VUCA, VUCA, right? It's a military term. The origin is from the military, and the term, which is an acronym, is it stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, right? It describes the job market and also the workplace. What we're experiencing right now in the job market, and not even in regards to like job openings, employers hiring. I'm not talking about in context to that today. That's a whole nother conversation. But just in relationship to the the nature of where social workers work and that the federal government is undergoing so many changes funding wise, eliminations of departments, elimination of programs, initiatives, and all of these things are literally happening every second of the day, even on the weekend. That is the mix of a VUCA situation in the job market, specifically for social workers, right? If you are new here, my name is Marthea Pitts. Welcome. I am known on the social work streets as the MSW coach. I teach social workers how to make the pivot from case management to macro social work jobs in 3 months or less in my group career coaching program. I've helped well over 200 social workers land macro social work jobs since I've officially been keeping count. In my 9 to 5 life, I am a workforce development professional. I have had several macro jobs, but my first job was working on the front lines in a workforce development center, an American Job Center, where I was a workforce development career counselor, where I served and provided career coaching to hundreds, if not thousands, of career seekers in multiple counties in my state. From there, I worked on the state level in workforce development policy for the same workforce development program that I worked in on the front lines, which is a federally funded program as well. I've worked as a researcher at R1 University. My most recent macro job was with one of the oldest think tanks in Washington, D.C., in the nation, where I co-led a $2.5 million initiative where I worked directly with mayors, political leaders, federal leaders around providing them with technical assistance and thought partnership on how to develop career pathway opportunities in the STEM careers for youth and young adults in various states around the country. So I share all of that so you understand that the conversation that I'm having with you today is from my workforce development hat. Okay. So if I get in my bag a little bit, just let me do that. This is what I like to talk about. Okay. So right now we are most definitely in a VUCA situation. But what I want you to be aware of is that the job market is always up and down, right? This isn't the first time this happened. This is maybe the first time it's looked this way with the actors that are involved, but we've been here before at different parts in history, okay? Also, you should know that VUCA, that acronym, is also used to describe the workplace. But today we're specifically talking about the job market. So, all things considering, without me going down a rabbit hole, because I am not a news reporter, you go do your due diligence and look at what's happening in the news. With all things that is considering, all things that are currently happening in the U.S. And even abroad, right? I have people from other countries that listen. They also are experiencing change. I have one coaching client who lives in Canada. I've been working with my coaching clients behind the scenes on like how to navigate these job market shifts. and still land high paying aligned macro jobs. And so I've been working with them, having these targeted conversations specifically regarding like the political landscape and what's happening, the federal funding landscape, what's to be anticipated since 2024, literally the next day after the election results rolled in. And one of the things that I learned from my coaching client who lives in Canada is that Canada was even at that time anticipating some political changes as well in the province that she lived in. So this conversation even applies to people who live abroad, okay? So right now we are clearly in a VUCA situation where jobs are being cut not just in social work, not just in social services, but in every industry that is out there, right? And I'm not going to name any industries. I'm gonna focus on my industry for this conversation. So jobs are being cut back in every industry, or all organizations are on some level, if they haven't already made cutbacks or changes to their workforce, they are in constant conversation around like what the game plan is gonna be when and if that time comes. Okay. So, as a result of that, if you are a human breathing air, even if you are someone who doesn't watch the news every day, you don't read, which I know is a lot of social workers that don't, even if you don't watch the news every day, even if you don't fully understand what's going on in the federal government, even in how it impacts you in your job as a social worker, which I know a lot of social workers don't understand that. Again, that's a conversation for another day. Even if you're someone who maybe gets their information secondhand, or maybe you're just a person who is more reactionary than proactive, meaning you ain't really concerned about it until it knock on your front door. Okay. This conversation is still for you. A lot of people right now are asking themselves, is now the time that I should be looking for a job? And so I want to tackle that and tell you in detail why now is the time to be looking for employment. But before we get into that, I want to be clear that there are two different types of scenarios right now that people could potentially be in, right? You could be in a situation where your job outlook, where you're currently working, is great. There's no like noise on the horizon from your leadership, from your chief executive officer, from the chief financial officer about the financial health of your organization, about any fiscal concerns, money, right? They're like, we're smooth sailing, we're good, we have diversified our revenue streams, we or our revenue is only federal dollars is only a small percentage. We have fee for service model in place, which I love organizations with leaders that have a fee for service model in place for times like this, as opposed to organizations that rely solely on federal dollars, nonprofits, like your local nonprofit. So maybe your organization is like, we're good, right? We don't anticipate any changes. Or maybe your leaders haven't even talked to you. You're just like, they haven't said anything. We're good, okay? Then there's the other person who may be in organization type, may be working with a population, may be working with a program whose federal funding has either already been eliminated, cut back, reduce, change. Maybe you work as a social worker with a population that's under a lot of like attack right now, and you know it's just a matter of time before your position is eliminated. Maybe it's already been eliminated. Maybe you're in a situation where your organizational leaders, the senior level leaders, the CEO, the CFO, the COO, chief operating officer, maybe they have already called you all in to have a come to Jesus meeting. That's where they're talking about like layoffs or waves of layoffs or reduction in the workforce. Maybe your supervisor has pulled you in one on one and told you that due to funding changes within the internal organization. They maybe didn't explicitly say because of federal money, but maybe they're just like, we're changing some things in our organization, and you're going to now have to split your time between two different programs. So whereas before you maybe were working with a population or in a program, and now you're going to spend 50% of your day or your work week there, and then 50% of your day or your work week doing mental health therapy services, something like that, right? That is a sign that funding has shifted, priority has shifted, and they now, in order to prevent from having to lay you off, they now have to split your time between a more well-funded funding stream. Okay. So you have the people who like, my job is good, and then you had the people like the building is on fire. Also, with that, a lot of social workers were already laid off months ago during the first wave of like funding cutbacks. So there are two different groups of social workers that we're talking to today. And I want you to know that both groups, regardless of where you stand, regardless of how untouchable you feel right now, regardless of if the people told you the job is going to be eliminated in 2 months, you should still be looking for employment. So let's get into why, okay? So I want to be clear. This conversation I'm having today, when I say looking, I want you to understand that there is a specific preparation process that goes into job searching when you're doing it right. When you're doing truly aligned job searching, when you are doing high quality job matching, when you are stellar writing your career marketing materials, your resume, your cover letter, when you know how to ace interviews, there is a process of preparation before you hit apply on your first job, right? However, and that's with my coaching clients, right? Because the reality of it is, for a lot of people that listen to my podcast and just career seekers in the world, they don't have a process, right? They all they know is, I go to the job board, I look for my degree in the requirement section, and then I hit apply with my old tired resume that has two nondescript bullets under each job, right? And then when the people ask for a cover letter, you say, no, I'm not going to hit a cover letter. Okay. So a lot of people don't understand the process to job searching. And then also, a lot of people don't job search until they're at the point of no return, which is rule number one. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation today. Okay. Is you should never be waiting until you have no other option to be looking for a job. Okay. That's why now, today, the moment you are listening to this, if you are not already, now is the time to be actively job searching. Okay. Because on average, in a job market where things are good, right? Where people aren't being furloughed and laid off and all of the things, on average, even when you have a tight process, it can take you anywhere if you are going after quality jobs. Now, my conversation is for quality, high paying, what I call good paying, good jobs, right? Good paying, good quality jobs. When you are going for good paying, good quality jobs, it can take you on average of 3 to 6 months, right? More like 4 to 6 months. Okay. That's in a great job market. Being that we are now in the VUCA state of the job market, is volatile right now. I don't know if I said it, but the changes from the federal government, they flowing down minute by minute, second by second. We learning about things on Saturday. You're like, ain't the office closed? What's going on? How you cutting back things on a Sunday? Right? So being that we are here right now, we are in a volatile situation. So, all things considered about where the current state of the job market is, that then stretches your time period of being able to attain good quality, good paying employment, right? Good quality, good paying jobs. So, as before, in a good job market, it would probably take you on average about 3 to 6 months, right? My people, it takes them about 3 months. If they're really like got their foot on the gas and they're doing everything and they're checking all of the boxes, it takes them 3 months. It's still on average taking my people about 3 months. When they are really dedicated, focused, they're being consistent in their job search, it's taking them 3 months. It's taking them less than 2 weeks to get interviews. However, let's say you didn't come through my program. Where we are in the job market right now, it could easily, and this on the light side, take you 6 months to 12 months to secure a good quality, good paying job. And again, I'm not being funny. I want to give you the distinction between a good quality, good paying job and a low quality job. So, a good quality, good paying job, you got benefits, you work 9 to 5, you're making a decent wage where you only have to work that one job. You're doing work that you don't feel like you're selling your soul for $1 for, right? You got benefits if I didn't say that. Okay. A low quality job is where you're not making enough money. You still got to work two, three other jobs. You maybe have to do some gig work on the side, go do Instacart, do a weekend shift at Amazon. Like you keep kids on the weekend. You might do hair. You might sell baked goods. That's a low, or you don't have benefits, right? Or you can't take time off, or your work is dependent upon sales. Your work is dependent upon you finding clients, right? That's a low quality job. Like your work is contingent upon a lot of other things, okay? So I name that for you because a good quality, good paying job right now, the state where we is, could take you about 6 to 12 months if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have a quality resume, things like that. However, a low quality job, you could get a low quality job, with your eyes closed because there's always a need for service based workers. But being that you went to school and you got a master's degree, and many of you have multiple master's degrees. You have multiple bachelor's degrees. I even have a lot of social workers that follow my work who have doctoral degrees, right? DSW degrees, doctors of social work degrees, right? Being that you went to school and you invested all of that money in those degrees in that time, I would think, but I could be wrong because people's career plans can change based on where you are in life. I would think that your goal would be more to get a high quality, high paying job where you have one job, you make enough money to buy you a house, pay your mortgage, pay your rent, whatever your thing is, whatever makes you happy. Take care of you, take care of your family, travel on the weekend, in state, out of the country, go eat, buy groceries, and I have to worry about let me unlock my card and check my bank account, right? I would think that was the aspirational goal to go get your degree. So this conversation is about good quality, good paying jobs. So the state of the job market where we are is about 6 to 12 months. So with all of that considered, right? So if you are in a situation, let's go with the one who's like, right now is good. The people aren't talking about cutting back. It ain't gonna be no change, no nothing. You still should be preparing, starting the preparation process today because I just told you 6 to 12 months, right? Okay, Marthea, but if I'm preparing, what am I doing in those 6 to 12 months? In those 6 to 12 months, while the job is going good, what you need to be doing, and actually, I'm gonna stay with this side first, and then we're gonna go with the other side, okay, or the other situation. Things are going good. Like they not gonna cut me off. My population is untouchable. Where I work is untouchable. Like I got it. Okay. You still should be job searching. What your job search should look like is you doing a thorough examination of like where are potential employers that you could target in a I need a job quick type of situation, right? So what I mean by that is one of the things that I've been coaching my coaching clients on is, which is always something that I coach them on, is looking at non-traditional spaces of where you can get employment. Let's say if you're a population that you specialize in or have licensure to serve is completely like eliminated. Services to them is completely eliminated. What are you going to do in that situation? Now in this time, in this 6 to 12 months, what you should be doing is even before, let's add a whole nother 6 months on that. Let's add a 6 month prep time because the job search time is 6 to 12 months. That's just job searching. The 6 months to 8 months prior to that, you should be identifying potential employers that you can target for employment. You should be getting a thorough understanding of what positions do they have that align with things that you're interested in, the frequency of when they hire for those positions, and what are the requirements that they're looking for. The reason you want to know all of that is like you want to have an emergency kit. You just like, I'm from Florida, born and raised. I live in Florida, so all my life, I've been hearing talks about like you got to have a hurricane prep kit, right? And all of the things. Do you have the water? Do you have a flashlight? Every hurricane season, they give us the same talk, right? Growing up, that's the same thing. And every year, my mother already had the things lined up, right? So I say that to say it's the same thing with your career. It's clear we're in a VUCA situation. You need your emergency kit. Your emergency kit just like for my social workers who manage sites, and you know how, because I used to have to do it as a transitional housing coordinator at a DV shelter. I had to go around and make certain that we had the fire exit map that told its survivors where they need to go to exit the building when the fire alarm is on, going off. And I had to go around each month to take like notes in a little fire marshal binder to say, I checked the map. It's still up there. It's still a fix. It's still good. You need that in your career as well. You should have a centralized location where you have clear identification of potential employers that you could target. What are they hiring for? What does their job outlook look like? Is that are make certain that they're not organizations that can potentially be eliminated in the wide sweep that's happening, or even if they're not receiving federal dollars, right? Some corporations are struggling right now. You want to verify those things. You want to look at the employment positions. How competitive are they? Is that something that you can easily like qualify for without having to do 500 backflips and go back to school and get 10 degrees and all of the things? Because when you need to make a quick exit, you can do that fast. Like you got to do that fast. You ain't got time to go back to school and get another degree and get a certification. Even the certification take a few months. You don't have time for that, right? So you should know all of those things. Once you do that assessment, once you do that like inventory of do you have that in your career, in your emergency kit. The other thing that you should be looking at is identifying where are the gaps in your experience. This falls under do you meet the qualifications for the position? When you're doing that assessment, you are looking at, okay, they on their job said, I need this, this, and this, and this. I don't have this, this, and this. In the 6 months prior to you even beginning the job search, I would say 6 months to a year, because we still got what, 4 years of all of this? 6 months to a year, you should be proactively building the experience that you need to get the job that you want. So even if your current employment is like it's never gonna be touched, it's never gonna be eliminated, the man is going to leave in 4 years, right? So you still can be using this time now to prepare for your pivot because it's going to go back, right? It's always ebbs and flows. We go through this every administration in some form or fashion. For a lot of people, this y'all first time feeling it. That's the truth of it. Because also a large percentage of people who follow my work, you are from a younger generation. So this your first time feeling something like this. I was thinking the other day that I remember when I was still in high school. I think I either had just graduated high school, literally like a few weeks or so, where in the state of Florida, they had eliminated affirmative action. Affirmative action is where if because you were from you, I don't know the full ins and outs because I was a baby then, but like it was basically like you couldn't get a job anymore off of the merits from being a brown person from a marginalized group. You couldn't get a job just off of the GP of that anymore. And I remember that being devastating to people in the state of Florida, right? And that wasn't that long ago. Okay. So I say that to say this that a lot of you are just going through this for the first time. That's why it feels like the world is crashing down on you. And yes, we know the reality of it is a lot of things have changed over the last 20 years or so. But honestly, history just repeats itself, right? It's just all a repeat. It's just different actors. It just looks a little bit different, but it's all the same. Like this is not the first time. Progress and retrenchment has been happening for forever. Okay? They give you a little bit, they take it back. They give you a little bit more, they take it back. Right? And then you have to fight to make up all of what you lost from before. So I say all that to say that for many of you, this is your first time experiencing this. So because of that, you're going to feel an extra level of overwhelm. But what I'm telling you today really is designed to help you better prepare yourself. So even if the game plan is, I'm not going to leave my job until all of this is over, you still should be using this time now strategically to prepare yourself for the pivot. Okay, so you should be looking for opportunities to fill any experience gaps. Like you should be looking within your organization. To get experience, you don't need to go get a degree. You're sitting in a in an organization where they will love to give you some extra work to do something. Think about it strategically. Every extra thing, if you take it strategically because it aligns with your goal of I need to fill this experience gap, is something that you could take to flip and make more money. Okay, so you need to be looking at opportunities to build experience. You need to be looking at opportunities to like build brand awareness for yourself. How can you strategically be using the job that you're in right now, taking in all things considered of what's happening in the world? How can you be a problem solver in this time rather than just a list checker? Macro social workers are problem solvers. And right now we got problems everywhere. It's an endless supply of them. Pick which one you want to go tackle and address. You should be spending your time identifying the problem that you from the angle that you want to like work on to build the experience that you want. Instead of being the social workers that sit in the corner complaining all day and griping because them gonna be the first ones that get laid off. They're gonna be the first ones that get laid off. The ones sitting in the corner running their mouth about what leadership ain't doing this. Spend your time separate from the group researching what are some resolutions. How can you help your clients overcome what they're experiencing currently? The people panicking. But my people who work with the population that get SNAP benefits, supplemental nutrition and assistance benefits, SNAP benefits, the program, the people panicking. If your thing is I'm passionate about all things food insecurity, food sovereignty, because I know a lot of y'all before you work with me, you say you want to do policy. This your time to shine, baby. How you gonna help the people overcome what they dealing with? They gonna be dealing with come November 1 in your state. This is your time to problem solve, not to panic with the people around you. Okay? So you be looking for ways to build your experience. Another thing that you need to be strategically doing is building relationships with people. Okay? You will never hear me say network. Networking is not rooted in workforce equity, okay? Because everyone has different access to social supports, okay? I know social workers that don't look like me like to typically tell people that look social workers that look like me to network, and then social workers that look like me spend all of their time trying to network with people, and they spend years and years and years volunteering at social service agencies and never can get ahead, and they go get all the degrees, but I don't tell people to network. That is a proven fact in the workforce development literature. Everybody, especially people that look like me, people from marginalized backgrounds, don't have the same level of access to social capital. I think I called it social support earlier, but it's called social capital. So, what I teach my coaching clients is how to build a community with the people you work with every day, the people you talk to every day, the people that you talk to every day in the other agencies and organizations. You never know who those people know. You never know where those people are going to land. So you don't have to spend time networking with them. Just build good relationships with them. When you work with them, be the superstar social worker that you are. Don't dim your light and like try to blend in with the regular social workers. Let the people know who you are, right? And they will talk about you in rooms that you have never stepped foot in. So those are some of the things that you need to be doing now, which I consider active job searching. Not one of the things that I say hit apply on a job. Not one of the things that I say take a job offer. Now, if you want to be, an A student, I know y'all high achievers, you could be hitting apply on some jobs. You could be going on interviews. Why? To get used to testing out and collecting data on the effectiveness of your resume, to get practice on your interviews. So when you get ready to have to go interview, you're not sitting there like a deer in headlights and you wondering why the people won't hire you. It's like you had 2 years, 3 years to go dust off your interviewing skills. Do it now. Okay. So for my people, let's go to the other side of the track. For my people who are like, my job has been eliminated, the people cut me back, it's just a matter of time. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Okay. Again, the job market that we're in right now, it could, when you're looking for high quality employment, take you 6 to 12 months if your stuff ain't tight. Okay. All that considering, if you are in a situation where your job has been eliminated today and you need a job, all the talk about good quality, good paying jobs is out the window. At that point, you just need a job. Okay, especially for my people who were like me when I was in case management, still is. I'm a one. I don't even know what the term was, but I was a single mother. Okay, it's only me. It was only one paycheck. Still is, because my daughter, she works her own job. That's her own money. This is still a one income household. That's what it's called. Okay, I don't make my kids. I don't make my adult child pay for bills. Okay, so when you are dealing with a one income household, your situation a little bit different. You can't do like Susie or Tasha, who's married and they get laid off and they could come home and they still can survive because they got a partner who's bringing in a substantial income. That ain't your story, right? So if you are in a situation like that, even if you don't have any dependents, any children, any family, any parents, a dog, I know a lot of y'all are dog and pet parents, even if you don't have anyone else that you provide care for, your situation still is an immediate need. Unless you have a savings, which I hope you do. I pray you do. Right? That's the other thing I was going to talk to at the end. Now is the time for you to really be thinking about like, where is your money to access it? Specifically for my people who feel their job is an immediate like danger. Okay. So how fast can you get to your money if you need it? That's a question you should always know about. Okay. So for my people who are like, I have other people to take, I'm a one income household, things like that. Your priority shifts to you just need a job. So when you just need a job, I want you, the main thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to get off of the soapbox on one income household, is when you are a one income household or you don't have any social capital, like a parent that may not live with you, that or parents that don't live with you, but you can't like fall back on them. They're not gonna help you pay your rent. They're not gonna throw you no extra dollars to buy no grocery, things like that. Your situation becomes drastically different. And what I would say for you is that you need to immediately put on the hat of a client and become your own client. Okay. What I mean by that is you need to go to some temporary employment agencies. You need to call every friend in your phone that you have contact with. You need to be looking for employment. You just need to start applying to anything that you see available, even if it don't say social work, because now ain't the time to be picky. But I pray you don't wait until that. Like if y'all have been listening to me, even if it's your first time listening to me, I pray that you don't ever wait until the point of no return. Even when the job market was good, I've been saying that for 5+ years since I've been on the internet, even longer before I got on the internet. You never wait until things are just so bad. I remember when I first got on the internet as an MSW coach, there was another social work influencer. I made a post, and I want to be clear, this person didn't look like me. I'm 100% certain that their background is nothing like mine, okay? Their setup, income wise, household wise, nothing like mine. But I made this post one time and I was like, I don't care what's happening. You never leave a job without having another job, right? And they came in my comments and was like, that's not, I wouldn't agree with that because sometimes you just have to leave. No, no, not when you a one household or no, a one income household. You better not ever walk on nobody's job and you ain't got nothing else lined up, especially if you don't have any income coming from anywhere else, right? That's why you want to start actively looking for employment before you need it. That's why we're having this conversation today. You want to actively be looking for employment before you ever need it. So even let's say, forget the government, what's going on with all of that. Even if you were experiencing burnout, overwork, overwhelm, unfulfillment in your role, when you first start feeling that, that's when you start building your career emergency kit. You start looking at other jobs. Even if you're like, I'm not going to leave now because I need such and such. You don't wait until you have become the volcano and you've just exploded everywhere. You pay attention to the signs. Okay? So I just want to be clear that. And for the people that is for, even for people that don't look like me, because I know it's a lot of y'all that don't even look like me, but you have similar situations as mine. Okay? Never wait. The minute you start feeling distressed, the minute you start getting a bad feeling, the minute you start hearing rumblings, you need to be looking. You need to be building your career emergency kit. How are you going to bring money? If you listen to my last podcast episode from last week, how are you going to bring money into your business? Your business is your career. Your career funds your life. Your job as the owner of your business is to bring in revenue, money to the business. How are you going to do that when your primary source is in jeopardy? That's all you should be thinking about. That's why I get on the internet and even in my personal life, that's why I go so hard in the paint about teaching people how to get jobs, how to maintain jobs. Why? Because I've always had to keep at the forefront of my mind how I'm going to fund my business, my life, my daughter's life. How am I going to do that? Because I don't have a backup plan. Okay. So that's just a little speech for my one income household people, okay? Don't wait to the point of no return. So for the people who like my job is immediately in danger, you should just be applying to anything. For my people who are like they're talking about potential layoffs, the cutoffs are coming. We've had a lot of those conversations that you just talked about, Marthea, things like that. You should speed up your timeline. Whereas with the other group, I said like they had 6 months, 6 months before they should officially be looking for the job. You should be looking again the moment you get a sign of disruption, the moment you get a sign of distress, The moment you hear whispers from people in your organization, even if it's from your colleagues around, like, I think we're going to be impacted. Now is the time to get real cool with the OG people in your organization. Those are the people who have been there and know the historical, like, movement of your organization. What I mean before is what I said earlier. We've been here before in society. So a lot of your OGs, they know how your organization responds in these situations. Now is your time to go talk to them. Now is your time to get on the calendar for them and have a coffee tea chat. Me, I just used to go in my OG's office and be like, I need to talk to you. And shut the door and prop up in the chair and just listen. Okay. Now is the time for you to go talk to them to understand what is the historical, like, flow of this organization when funding is potentially in jeopardy. Do they lay people off? Do they cut backs? Do they just stop hiring? Do they split up time allocation? Do they split you from one program to another? You need to be finding those things out, right? Doing that then helps you better understand the potential of what you could be facing. Because if the person or or you can ask your supervisor, a lot of y'all are cool with your supervisors, your directors, your managers, your CEOs, things like that. Now is the time to use your star power. The people love you. You need to be in their face asking questions. But you can go and ask them, what is the likelihood of layoffs? Are we potentially going to, is my position, talk about you, is my position going to potentially be impacted with all things that's happening connected to federal funding, my population, things like that. This is the time to be asking questions. Based on the data that you collect from that, then determines where your level of urgency should be. And when I say urgency is, do you need to move as fast as the people who have been laid off? Or can you move a little bit more like the people are like, my job is stable? Usually it's going to be somewhere in between, right? So what that looks like is, instead of you literally going out to pave the pavement by foot looking for a job, you can focus your efforts on, like, I'm going to spend this week or these few weeks working on my resume, or this month working on my resume. I'm going to spend next month doing a thing. But all of it, you still need to be actively identifying employers, any experience gaps. How long will it take you to fill that experience gaps? Do you have all of your, like, do you meet all of the qualifications? It also will determine your timeline of, like, what is the frequency or the cadence you should be applying for positions. These are all things that need answers. And so the main thing that I wanted to say is that everything that I'm talking about really is planning. So that's why I said now is a good time to be looking for a job, because you need to have a strategic plan in place on when, how, what are the moving parts associated with getting employment. So I want to say, and I'm gonna have this conversation with you because I have it continuously with my paid coaching clients. If you are a true macro social worker at heart, now is not the time to be panicking. Okay. That's just not how we move. Okay. Now is the time to be getting, and y'all know my word, very strategic in everything that you do. Even for the people who are like, my job is good, it's not, because I have coaching clients who, I'm gonna just say, a lot of my people, their job is not in jeopardy. You still should be planning around the brand that you're establishing for yourself to prepare for any potential moves or internal promotions post this new administration. So you still strategically need to be working on identifying experiences that you can be building and adding to your portfolio of experience to position you for the job where you want to be in 5 years, right? So there's still things, and this is really a much larger, longer conversation. It's a process. Like, And I'm actually going to do all of this in a workshop for my my coaching clients, but it really is a strategic planning process, right? Again, you shouldn't be jumping off the boat and can't swim. I will hope you got on the life vest. I will hope you went to the YMCA and took you some swimming lessons, right? I will hope you did it in time so you could be prepared and be fully like swim proficient. Okay. So it's the same thing. And if you remember nothing else, spend this time now getting your career emergency kit together. Go back, listen to this podcast episode again. I gave y'all a lot of the things that you should be doing. If you are still moving through the current state of the job market where we are now, the same way you were moving through the job market 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, during the height of the pandemic, you just setting yourself up for heartbreak, disappointment, and failure. So much has changed in the last 5 years. So much has changed in the last 5 minutes. Okay. That you should be doing nothing that you did 5 years ago. You should be doing nothing that you did to get the job that you're in. Honestly. And that's for my coaching clients who just landed new macro jobs. The strategy they use to get that macro job is not the strategy we're using today to advance them in their career, to prepare their emergency kits. It's not the same strategy. It changes every day based on what's going on in the world, especially for my people who have been in their jobs. Because on average, the people who choose to work with me, they have at minimum 10 years of experience in the workforce, 10 years as being a social worker. What you did, and that's usually like 5 to 10 years, 5 years and 6, 7 years in the same job. What you did 6, 7, 10 years ago, I've even had coaching clients that have been like school social workers for 20 years, and I helped her get a research job. What she did 20 years ago to get that school social work job, she cannot do that today, right? Even though she's happy in her job and she's still working her macro job. Right. So I really want you all to understand the seriousness of, and I know I'm laughing, but I'm being serious. That's why this video is so long. This podcast episode is so long. I want y'all to understand the magnitude of the time that we're in. If you are moving the same way that you moved to get the job you're in, you are setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment. If you move through, like, I'm always able to get a job as a social worker because I got a license, because I work with such and such population, I want you to know that it's a high probability that your population, your program, your organization will be negatively impacted if it's not already. Even for my medical social workers, even for my clinical social workers. Medicaid, Medicare funds a lot of things under the healthcare umbrella. Okay. So insurance, federally sponsored insurance, even private pay insurance is being impacted because they get subsidies from the federal government. Everybody needs an emergency kit right now. Everyone should be super serious about their career emergency kit right now. You can no longer sit back on your laurels on, like, I'm a licensed social worker. I'm a such and such social worker. I'm a school social worker. They eliminating whole departments, federal departments that fund your organization, that fund your programs, that ultimately fund your position. And they're just getting started. We still got 4 years and 2 months. Okay. So if you found this podcast episode helpful, leave me a comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave me a comment down in the comment box. Tell me one aha moment, key takeaway, reflection. If you're listening to this podcast episode on your favorite podcast platform, you can either find me on social media. I'm on Instagram at the_MSW coach. Jump in my DMs. Give me one aha moment, key takeaway reflection from this episode. You can email me. My email is mp@marthiapitts.com. If you are new here, if this is your first time ever encountering me, welcome. This is a great episode for you to find me. Your next step is I want you to visit my website, macroandpaid.com, macroandpaid.com. And I want you to go to the second link that is on my website, and I want you to grab my free macro e-course. It's the e-course where I break down everything that you need to know about macro social work, what it is, what it entails, what are salaries, what are organizations that hire macro organizations. And I can tell you the biggest question that a lot of people have when they first meet me is, do you need a license to do macro level work? And you don't. I also break down salary earning potentials, job titles, all the things that y'all love to know about. So be certain to grab my free e-course. And that is a great place for you to start building your career emergency kit. So until next time, I'll talk to y'all later. Happy macro career planning. Bye.